Live tonight from the virtual Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park in Chandler, Arizona, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to week 4 of the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship. We're excited to have you with us at Racecraft TV for the start of the second half of this 2021 campaign. And as always, alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, having to be joined by Josh Lee, who's also twisted and tweaking at dials tonight for us. And Josh, it seems funny saying round 4, we're kicking off the second half of the year, but we are already into now the final 3 weeks of this championship. And it really feels like that championship picture has only started to develop. Of course, we look at the drivers who have found success and coming into this evening. I think that Josh Edmondson finds himself in a very good position to get a long-awaited Horse Championship, but there's a long way to go still.
And we're going to, of course, Wild Horse Pass tonight, which is another new circuit that we haven't gone to so far on the calendar. But the last 2 races, Bark River and Crandon, we've already been there once this year. We saw an amazing finish at Crandon, saw a great start to the campaign at Bark River, and that's how we're going to finish out this season. So this is the last time these drivers will be on a racetrack that we're only going to see once. The last 2 we're going to be seeing for the second time this season.
One and done. You got to figure out what you can with it, and it was a conversation we had with some of the drivers 2 weeks ago. What did they feel like the racing was going to be like coming into tonight at Wild Horse Pass? Of course, they have notes out of Bark River and Crandon, so that's going to be a hotly competitive one. This is the last different track on the campaign, and let's talk about this championship as we enter this race. Of course, in this championship picture, 1 week, your worst week, is a drop week, and a courtesy of Josh Edmondson being a 2-time race winner. He's got max points basically, Josh, at this point. With the race win at both Crandon and Wild West, he leads the points, but only by 2 over Connor Berry. Keaton Swain is right there, and it looks like it may be a 3-horse race in the championship, no pun intended, because Felix Waugh, Luke Cadup, and others 4th on back. A bit of a jump up to those top 3.
And you got to remember, Evan, of course, they're going to earn points throughout the entire night. So one slip up from Josh Edmondson, Connor Berry is right there to pick up the pieces. If you think about Connor Berry, he has won at least 1 heat race in every single round of this campaign. Josh Edmondson, 2 feature race wins in a row. So he's getting a little bit more points, but Berry is sitting there consistent. Keaton Swain, feature race winner from Bark River earlier this season, hasn't had any success in the rounds since that first round at Bark River. So he's going to be looking for a little bit more here tonight.
Well, let's talk about this track in specific. Our lone trip to Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. It is one of the most diverse racing venues in North America. This facility total has everything from dragsters to motorboats, and for years has been a staple of short course off-road racing with 2 annual stops on the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series calendar. This stadium-style course was built back in 2008 and made its Lourdes debut 2 years later. It is a 5-turn layout featuring a mix of sweeping corners, high-flying jumps, and full-throttle straightaways. Now, an interesting note that we were just talking about, Josh, pre-race in this one as well, is there's a lot of time to be made up and or lost here at Wild Horse, and these drivers have been instructed by race control on some things you can and cannot do on track that we'll be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, so off of turn number 1, there's a little bit of an exploit with the banking. That's at the exit of that corner. If they use that exploit, the first one is going to be a warning. If they do it again, that means they will earn a 5-second time penalty, or they could have a post-race points deduction on top of that as well. With turn number 4, there's also a bit of an exploit there where the drivers will go all the way down to the bottom through the banners. They're allowed to go to the bottom of the racetrack in turn 4, but once they hit any one of those banners that is at the inside of the corner, they will earn a penalty. And also, if they go down to that bottom of the racetrack and not hit the banners, but they come up and off the racetrack into another driver, they could also face a penalty for that as well.
So it's been a lot of boys have at it this year, but there are some rules of the road here tonight at Wild Horse. Let's talk about tonight's race specific as well with a look at a Racecraft TV race analysis. 2 heat races will kick things off, 8 laps apiece. The top 6 drivers will advance into the feature. We will have 1 LCQ or consolation race at which the top 4 drivers will advance. Feature tonight going to be 22 laps in distance. As always, competition caution going to fly at the halfway point. reset everybody and send us off into the second half. We have seen two different race winners over the course of the 3 rounds of this championship. Josh Edmondson hasn't finished any lower than second in a feature race this season, and that is why he is the championship leader coming into this evening. So let's get week number 4 underway. Go trackside, take a look at your heat race number 1 starting grid, and the fastest driver in qualifying tonight is Luke Canup. He'll bring us to the green flag alongside Felix Waugh in second. Championship leader Josh Edmondson in a transfer spot in third alongside with Zachary Drapkin and Nicholas Dashlet, and Cody Retzlaff are your top 6.
Back from there, last half of the grid here will be Crystal King, Luke Kraus to the outside of row 4, for Franklin Monak with Shane Paul, the top 10, Vinny McDonald, Miles Morris, and on the final page, alone Nathan Ramsey will be starting P13 tonight as the drivers take to the starting grid, getting ready to go racing tonight. Evan, a relatively good day here in virtual Arizona, as it normally is in Arizona, in real life and virtually as well. Track temp, not really looking at that, but a 69-degree air temp. It's good for the virtual drivers down the racetrack. They're not going to be heating in those virtual cars.
Yeah, they're going to keep things nice and cool with a bit of a breeze, if you will. The good news is, though, no gusty winds. Dustin's going to be throwing these trucks off kilter up and into the air, and don't really see any cloud cover coming into play. So it should be a very basic afternoon as far as weather-wise, and shouldn't have much of an impact on the cars in this race. Of course, you can see Canup at the front of the field. He will be in control of the field for the restart to get this one underway. There are no competition cautions in these heats. It's going to be an 8-lap dash, and looking at lap times, your pole time for Luke Canup was a 35.629. That means that our 8-lap race going to be done pretty concisely in about 4 to 5 minutes time. Pace truck going to pull off and away, though. Luke Canup's going to decide when we go racing, and to kick off week number 4 of the Virtual Off-Road Racing Series Pro 4 Championship. He's on the loud pedal. We're green for heat race number 1.
Oh, look at getting already a little bit cattywampus over that jump was Felix Waugh. Josh Edmondson going to try and dive to the inside. A little bit of contact as well. Edmondson going to continue to get just a little bit loose. Now he goes to the inside. Zachary Drapkin takes a peek to the outside. One driver getting on 2 wheels. That was Cody Retzlaff for the 525. Still a little bit wampus as he comes over the jump. And Edmondson makes contact with Drapkin underneath him.
Yeah, there was a lot of drivers out of shape. Dashlet also got up on 2 tires, lost a couple of positions. He finds himself now in the bubble for P number 6. The fight for the race lead, though, rages on. Luke Canup is trying to get away from Felix Waugh. The 91 hotly contested as you ride on board with the truck in second position. Waugh entering tonight's race 4th in the championship. We did not see him last time out at Wild West, so that's automatically his drop for this 2021 Pro 4 championship. He wants to improve on a best P4 that we've seen out of him so far this year. He's putting the pressure on Luke Canup, keeping him honest, but those top 2 are pulling away, and it's making the battle further back more interesting. Drapkin's 3rd, Edmondson sliding down to 4th, Cody Retzlaff is 5th, and Nicholas Dashlet, despite a rocky opening lap, is on the bubble in P6.
Trying to hold on to that final transfer spot as well. Began his day up in the top 5 and now has fallen back into 6. Definitely not where he wants to be, but Luke Kraus, who sits there in 7th, this is not exactly where he wants to be either, as he currently sits behind him just waiting for something to happen in front of him, as we do have Luke Kraus on camera, the only driver we have on camera tonight, so I'm going to take some good advantage of that and go on board with Luke Kraus so we can take a look at him and his VR sim rig here, Devin. We always talk about the difference in drivers and exactly what they use for their sim rig. It looks like Luke Kraus is taking the VR route as he races here for P7, trying to chase down Nicholas Dashlet and take over that transfer spot, but he's got a bit of work to do.
Yeah, I certainly buy into the theory that having the VR goggles is good. Helps you out with situational awareness, right? I mean, you'll see that difference when you go from 1 monitor to 2. But I especially think in these Pro 4 trucks, it's going to be advantageous for you to be able to literally glance up to the mirror or glance over to the mirror with how much dive bombing and maybe contact you'll have on some of these restarts over the course of a race like this, that having the VR goggles and being able to look around your truck could be beneficial. We are looking up the road at a potential battle between that number 58 machine of Josh Edmondson trying to get up along the inside of Zach Drapkin. That fight going to be for third and fourth position. Look at Drapkin. He entered low, swung wide. Edmondson tried to dig it up, but underneath him, not able to do so. 5 laps down, 3 laps to go in heat race number 1. All these drivers inside of the top 4, they're looking pretty safe. Remember, the top 6 is the cutoff to get that transfer into the feature. So now the question is, how aggressive will you be if you're Edmondson? Do you risk a transfer spot for an extra spot? Every position you gain here is 2 positions further forward in that feature.
He's trying to get around Drapkin, and like you mentioned, Evan, they are safe and into the feature where they currently run. They're not fighting for that transfer spot, but they're fighting to just get a little bit of a better starting spot for the feature, and that can become immensely important. We talk about some of these tracks, how difficult it is to pass. We're seeing that here in Wild West. Is up on 2 wheels goes Zachary Drapkin after contact with Josh Edmondson. Drapkin only falls to P4, but here comes Cody Retzlaff to join the conversation.
And that's exactly what he doesn't need. And I mean, forcing the issue a little bit there was Edmondson, but I think Drapkin spun it out a little bit after he came down awkwardly off of the hill prior to that. And he is comfortable, as you mentioned, still in P5, but you can't get away with many more of those. Meanwhile, Barney's throwing the white flag last time around. This 0.60 mile Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park, and Luke Cadup has been oh so good. I talk about Felix Waugh coming into tonight, 4th in the championship. Well, he came into tonight tied with the driver of that 77 machine, Luke Cadup. His best finish of the season came last week with a 4th in the feature at Wild West, and he'll be on pole for the feature tonight at Wild Horse. Luke Cadup, absolute brilliance in heat race number 1.
Battle for the transfer is going to end with Nicholas Dashlet able to walk away with that spot. What a run for the 92. Unfortunately, we are going to send now 7 drivers over and into tonight's consolation race. But taking a look at the full results, Evan, what a heat win for Luke Cadup. His first heat win of the season, and he gets it here at Wild Horse Pass.
Best night we've seen so far for him. Was going to join him in second. Josh Edmondson, Zachary Drapkin, Cody Retzlaff, and Nicholas Dashlet are all headed to the feature race. Unfortunately, that means that Kraus, McDonald, Monick, Paul, Ramsey, King, and Morse all going to head to the LCQ. Let's take a look at now your starting grid for heat race number 2. And how about this name? Season debut for Cam Peterson, the 2020 and 2021 Pro 2 champion for the Virtual Off-Road Racing Series, makes his Pro 4 debut tonight. He was second best in practice and qualifying, so he is on the front row for heat race number 2. Keaton Swain's going to be to the outside in second position. Bodie Cryer and Christopher Plumley will double up for row 2, with William Booth and Brian Clement starting in the green. They're your top 6.
Back from there as the field rolls their way off. Josh Klog, Shea Price, Tor-Andre Borison, Daniel Eisch with Scott Bryant and Jeff Daniels, the top 12. Another 13-car grid here in the heat. James Watson is going to round out the entire field as they get rolling off, ready to go for the second heat. We'll take another 6 drivers here from this heat, and great to see Cam Peterson back, but I think it's entertaining for us to see Cam Peterson back here, Evan. I don't think any of the drivers in the field really wanted to see that number 48 for Jim Beaver Esports out here on the track tonight.
Oh, you're right, because if Cam Peterson has a clean race, he's going to be fighting for the race win, and all he can do at this point, right, having missed 3 weeks, is just take away points from guys who would really love to maximize those in the battle for these overall championship. It's also important to note that the drivers who started in the top 6 at heat race number 1 all advanced. Nobody came from outside of the top 6. We'll see if this changes, because heat race number 2 is underway, and it's a good jump for Peterson. He leads into turn number 1. Bodie Cryer putting a slide job on Plumley. They get together, beating and banging, and a battle for 3rd and 4th.
And they go into the corner now. Here comes Swain looking to the inside. Couldn't get that power down. Couldn't get the momentum through the corner. These trucks really stall out in the middle, so you see them bunch so close together. But it's the time on throttle on the exit of the corner. If the driver enters in first, unless they make a mistake in the apex of that corner, most of the time, they're going to be able to get that power down first and be able to keep that spot. That is exactly what these drivers try and do. And right now, Cam Peterson doing it amazingly at that, as he currently leads the way. Battle for the transfer right now, Evan, pretty non-existent, as William Booth tries to catch up to Josh Clogg in the fiercely forward racing machine in front of him.
Yeah, they're going to do what they can, but it's about a second difference between being in and being out. Booth closed a little bit there, but we'll keep an eye to see what pace Clogg has got in it. You can see he actually started in that number 6 position, so he's in a very good spot to try to just maintain. Also, second heat race in a row that he had a truck nearly up and over. Daniel Aish barrel rolled on lap number 1 of this thing. He dropped back to P10. Torandra Borson having some issues, riding up and onto the catch fencing on the front stretch. So I think the biggest issue when I talk about drivers starting outside of the top 6, not being able to transfer in, is they get caught up in this mess, right? That kind of contact early in a race, and in a short 8-lap sprint of a heat race, you do not have the time to have those kind of hindrances and be able to come back from them. But watching Peterson, a comfortable 0.6 of a second ahead for the race lead, and of course, keeping an eye on the bubble. Clogg is slowly starting to get caught up to by the likes of Booth and the likes of Shea Price running in 7th and 8th position. So Clogg is not home free, and we could have a battle for P6 shortly. There's a bit of contact as William Booth wants to force the issue at the halfway point in heat race number 2.
Just a small bump for Josh Clogg as they went into that corner. Booth goes to the outside. That's going to open the door to the inside. Here comes Shea Price. What can they do now? Look at another dive to the inside for William Booth. Contact made, but able to hold on to it is Josh Clogg. Barely holding on to this transfer spot. William Booth trying to get aggressive for it, but as they run through now on the straightaway out of turn number 1, Clogg is able to hold on to that transfer spot. Booth is getting aggressive for it, though. Here comes Shea Price to join the conversation. Cannot get to the inside of William Booth. Booth will stay P7, but most importantly, Clogg stays P6. A little bit of a mistake through that corner. Can this open the door for William Booth? Almost clears the second whoop section.
And remember, it was Booth who had a poor start, got roughed up a little bit through quarter number 2, and after starting in 5th, slid back to 7th. So if you believe Q times, Booth, a faster hot lapping truck than Josh Clogg in front of him. So that 51 has the speed capable of putting up a fight. You're right on board. He went way deep off of that jump and nearly landed on the 13 to Clogg up the road. Pushed him out a little bit wide. He'll reset. Try again to the inside. He will clean him out. William Booth, big contact, but somehow Josh Clogg is going to fight his way back and maintains P6 for the moment. No holds bar in the battle for the final transfer spot with 2 laps to go.
Evan, you want to know what this is showing me? This is showing that these drivers care about that transfer spot. They want to transfer into the feature. They don't want to have to worry about the last chance qualifier. They want to qualify in from the heat. How important is this to William Booth? He's getting so aggressive with Josh Clogg to try and make that move happen. He gets so close, but cannot complete the pass on the exit of the corners. Only 4 corners around Wild Horse Pass. You mentioned it earlier in the pre-show. A stadium-style course, only 4 corners, but as Cam Peterson takes the white flag, Josh Clogg is looking comfortable. William Booth's only going to have about 1 more corner to make up that position, and it's going to be right here in turn 2.
He's already shown that he's not afraid to be aggressive. Where is the limit for the 51 truck? Pitches it to the inside, but Josh Clogg knew that was coming. He left the bottom open, sacrificed on the entry for the runoff for the corner. The battle behind continues as Cam Peterson dominates heat race 2. Swain is in, Cryer's in, Plumley, Clement, and in the final corner for position 6, he hangs on. Josh Clogg will advance to the feature. William Booth gave it everything he had, including looking to the outside as they came over the start-finish jump, but it was not enough, and Clogg advances. Peterson dominates and is going to have a real good look, Josh, at going for a feature race win here in 2021.
He's going to start outside of the front row, exactly where he wants to be, and arguably exactly where Cam Peterson belongs. Starting grid for the LCQ, Luke Kraus on the pole with William Booth to the outside, Vinny McDonald, Shea Price, Franklin Monak, and Daniel Eisch will round out the top 6. Evan, we have 14 drivers ready to take the green flag.
It is a huge grid for this LCQ. You can see Shea DePaul and Tor Borison going to be through the number 8 position. Nathan Ramsey and Jeff Daniels, your top 10 runners. They start ahead of Crystal King and James Watson. And at the very back of the grid, row number 7, it'll be occupied by Miles Morse and Scott Bryant. So I think pretty clearly, Josh, the biggest LCQ field we have seen so far in this 2021 Pro 4 Championship. Only the top 4 drivers will advance. Lap times same as the heat races. It'll be an 8-lap dash, but we have more trucks that we had in the heats and less golden tickets. So I think the battle for the top 4 in this is going to be quite a show.
And that's all they're going for. And it sounds simple, get into the top 4, but when you think about it, we have 14 drivers who are all hungry for that transfer spots. We're going to get rid of 10 drivers here in this LCQ, so they got to be quick. They got to be on their game. One mistake from any of the drivers in the top 4, and they will have drivers from 5th on back, right on their back bumper, trying to take that spot away. So if you're in the top 4, you got to be careful. You got to be on your A game, and it starts right now as Kraus and Booth are going to lead him to the green.
Starting position based on heat race finishing spots. So row number 1, the 7th place finishers. Row number 2, the 8th place finishers. So on and so forth. Green flag in the air. We're racing for the LCQ. The 3 is out of control. Vinny McDonald comes cross track, and he will shove the number 10 machine of Franklin Monak into the outside wall. Monak's done. More trucks barrel rolling now. It is Nathan Ramsey on his lid. Off track as well. Behind them was Shane Paul. And a rough and tough opening lap. We'll see Luke Kraus, and behind him, William Booth try to pull away after fireworks.
And here comes Booth to the inside. A lot happened on that first lap. It looks like Monak, Paul, Ramsey, all out of this race and into the pit lane. Looks like an issue for James Watson now. He falls a little bit back down the order. But up in front, Luke Kraus trying to hold on now to this lead. This is important for him to have the lead here. He just needs to keep up this momentum, not let it go for just a moment. And we've seen Luke Kraus before be so dominant. We've seen him before in the dirt road ladder be one of the best. He needs to prove it here to keep William Booth behind as they're fighting for what would be the win of the LCQ. Now they only need to be in the top 4 to advance, Evan, but getting the win will net you a much better starting spot than the tail end of the field.
Yeah, we talk about how there's already 12 drivers locked into the feature, which means that the best position that you could get would be by winning this Constellation LCQ. You could grade it 13th position, aka the insider number 7 for the feature race. And Kraus and Booth comfortably ahead, and kind of in no man's land is Shea Price there on the distance. Price in the 17 truck picked up a position after all of the chaos early, and that was all at the expense of Vinny McDonald. Is now Miles Morse has got issues behind. Morse just went off of the racetrack after a spin courtesy of Vinny McDonald. So the only reason I saw McDonald had an issue, Josh, is because I was talking about him who started this race in 3rd. I was going to mention how he was the one who really got the short end of the straw opening lap of this race, and he flipped that truck. He hiked it up on a berm all on his own, rolled the truck over, so it has gone from bad to worse for Vinny McDonald as he's down in position number 6. So his night continues to get worse, and it's opened up the door for a guy like a Tor Borison. How about the run for the 8 truck? Right, trying to defend Crystal King and not that far behind him, so it's not all said and done for the driver of the 8 machine here. But he started this race in 8th positions up to 4th. Crystal started in 11th. She's at the 5th, so big moves for the drivers in the battle for the bubble.
Definitely not surprised to see Tor Borison running up front in a Constellation race. If anybody has tuned in on Sunday's Racecraft TV Rallycross, Tor Borison racing in the RX2, a little bit of a shorter division, but he has been so dominant in that division so far this year. And just a great run for Tor Andre Borison as he currently sits up at the front. And it looks like, Evan, checkered flag has fallen on this consolation race a little bit prematurely. But yes, it is the consolation. It was set to a 3-minute timed race or 8 laps. Time is up. We have gone for 3 minutes, and Luke Kraus is taking the win.
So that's a sneaky one, and I'm not sure if all of the drivers were aware of it. I don't think it would have made much of a difference in a battle for the top 3, right? Kraus, Booth, and Price were all pretty comfortably running away. But I have to wonder if you're Crystal King, if you were kicking yourself about that, because that was still very much a fight. Instead, it's over. And we will see Kraus, Booth, Price, and Borison head to the main event. Crystal King, Vinnie McDonald, Jeff Daniels, Daniel Aish, Scott Bryant, James Watson, Mile Morse, Shade Paul, Nathan Ramsey, and Franklin Demonic through the top 14 positions. All of those drivers are going home. So we'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. When we come back, we are going to go feature racing from the desert. Can Cam Peterson fight for a first win in his first start, or can your championship leader Josh Edmondson keep it going? You're watching the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship on Racecraft TV.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars, and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone, and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
This is our series,
So many different pieces that you have to watch out for.
where the stakes are always higher,
$300,000.
where virtual meets reality,
How bad do you want it? They're wasting no time getting at it.
where the best thrive and the flawless win. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
And back live from the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship tonight from Chandler, Arizona's Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. We are ready to go feature racing for the 4th time here in this 2021 Pro 4 Championship. Evan Pasoko, Josh Willie at the Racecraft TV booth. Let's go trackside and take a look at your starting grid for tonight's feature. So, starting grid based on a heat race finishing first, which means your heat race winners are on the front row. Luke Cadup enters tonight tied for 4th in the championship. He's got a great look at a first win of the year, but he has a 2-time Pro 2 champ in Cam Peterson alongside him. Felix Waugh, Keaton Swain will make up row number 2, with Josh Edmondson, the championship leader, and Bodie Cryer in P5 and 6.
Back from there, Zachary Drapkin looking to start on the inside of row 4. Christopher Plumley to his outside, with Cody Retzlaff, Brian Clement rounding out the top 10 starting spots. Nicholas Dachelet and Josh Klog are going to round out the top 12.
Continuing on down through now, the transferees from your LCQ: Kraus, Booth, Price, and Borison will round through your 16 truck grid. So of course, format for features, Josh, as always, a little bit different. Race is longer. We're gonna go for 22 laps, but that comp yellow always seems to be a difference maker.
It definitely is. I mean, it really bunches the field back up exactly when they need to be, middle portion of this race, because you think about off-road racing, and there's no pit stops. There is no full course yellows unless you get a gigantic wreck, and no full course yellows except for that competition caution here in the sim. So when you think about it, everybody just spreads out. There's nothing to bring them back together. The competition yellow does exactly that. They just take one lap. It is not done by the sim. It is a manual caution. They slow down to pace speed for one lap, get bunched up, and go back racing single file. It always seems to provide just an extra level to the race, and I'm excited to see what it's going to do tonight, especially around such a short track as Wild Horse Pass.
And we're happy that you're with us on Racecraft TV for round 4 of this virtual off-road racing series. As we say, let's go racing from Wild Horse Pass. The feature is green. And how do they survive first time through turn 1? A lot of contact, side by side for 3rd, side by side for 6th. But the top 2 pull it away as Peterson puts a bumper to Luke it up in P1.
Look at all of the Jim Beaver esports machines up here at the front. 2 of them, Peterson and Edmondson. Look at the dive up the inside. That was Bodie Cryer trying to make a move on Zachary Drapkin. They're getting a little bit aggressive back here. Plumlee to the inside of Cryer to go for that spot. Still too wide, majority of the field at the front. They're starting to single file out, but I think rather surprisingly, Evan, Luke Knupp, what a start he got. He leads Cameron Peterson right now as they go back into turn 2.
Yeah, Luke Knupp doing a good job so far. You just have to feel, though, with Cam Peterson that Luke Knupp knows this pressure. These guys have raced with each other so much on this iRacing service, and Luke Knupp would love to get the upper hand on Peterson. It is fair to note that Cam's Virtual Off-Road Racing Series championships have come in the Pro 2 division, but he is still one of the best, even when you put him in a Pro 4. And you talk about Luke Knupp, his finishes this year have been 7th, 6th, and 4th. Josh, he has been getting better and better every single week. I have to feel the 77 is as well prepared as he'll be for the challenge with one of the best drivers in East Short Course all over the back of him right now.
This is such a huge challenge for Knupp. And you mentioned Peterson having those championships in the Pro 2s. Safe to note that this is his first start in the new Virtual Off-Road Racing Series Pro 4 Championship. This is the inaugural season of the Pro 4s. So this is the first time Cameron Peterson is racing against these drivers on the Pro 4s. We already know it's tough to beat him in Pro 2s. Could it be a little bit easier to beat him in Pro 4s? He's getting aggressive for it. Contact on Luke Knupp. The challenge is starting to come in from Cam Peterson.
Yeah, Peterson is all over him, but listen, Cam Peterson is somebody who is going to make this pass clean, and that's clean at an off-road truck standpoint, right? You can give a little bit of touch, and you see that he's been really working the quarter pails of the 77, just trying to move him a little bit and give that 48 truck a little bit of room to work with. He is not going to drive through him, but this is early turned on into a 2-horse race. Edmondson in 3rd, your championship leader, has gained a position from the start of this race. In fact, he's +2, but I don't see the pace right now to catch them. Now, Comp Yellow may change that, right? It'll group them back up. For Cam Peterson here, I wonder if knowing that a yellow flag's imminent, Josh, if he wants to get the pass done before the Comp Yellow and therefore be the control truck when this thing restarts for the final 11 laps.
It's possible, but you got to think about Cam Peterson. Usually when he's running in 2nd place, he's playing the long game, just trying to wait for the right opportunity, maybe to give Luke Knupp a little bit less of an opportunity to try and come back and get that lead back. So Peterson right now seems to be buying his time, waiting for either Knupp to make a mistake or the right time to make that pass. There's the bump through the middle apex of turn number 2. But I don't know who I'm watching up here at the front. I am watching right now Josh Edmondson. You can see the dive to the inside for Peterson, but if there's any contact between Knupp and Peterson, or if they slow each other up, Josh Edmondson's going to be in the prime position to try and walk away with his 3rd straight feature race victory.
and you wonder where are some of these other big names in this championship. Of course, one driver you look for is, Connor Berry. He's the guy who has been oh so good this season. Connor not racing with us this afternoon. Another driver I look to is Keaton Swain. Keaton came into this third in the championship. Remember, he was close to the top two, but he's down in P6 at the moment, so he's got work to do. And Cam Peterson's getting creative now, looking to the outside through some corners, doing everything he can to just keep Luke Canup guessing. That's, I think, the key here for Peterson is just to not be predictable and to make Canup feel like that attack can come from anywhere. And as this battle for the race lead has heated up, the fastest truck on track is now Josh Edmondson in third. He is slowly starting to close, and you can see some of the other drivers. William Booth, a ton of damage after being involved in some contact early, but I think this may have been the cleanest start of the night, all things considered. I didn't see anybody upside down, so that's a good thing.
Definitely, as we had nobody really get any huge damage. Was a little bit to the front of William Booth, but the good thing about these Pro 4 trucks and the Pro 2 trucks at that is they can take a beating before they really stop working. These things are not very aero dependent as Indy cars or NASCAR race cars would be, so looking at these trucks, they can really take a beating. They could be without entire bodies and still be running at full speed. Of course, I don't think you can rip the entire body off in the sim, but we've seen it before in real life, where most of the body panels are gone by the end of a race, and it's the winning truck, normally with Kyle LeDuc behind the wheel, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, these trucks are known for this, and some of the most iconic, finishes as well have come courtesy of some torn-up trucks that just refuse to quit. And after Peterson started heating up the pressure, Canup has built a little bit of a gap. 6/10 of a second at the stripe. Granted, that doesn't mean a ton in these trucks. Anything in the ballpark of a half a second is within striking distance of somebody putting the bumper to you, but at least for the moment, Canup seems poised to lead us through the opening half of the race. The battle for third, quite interesting, behind, I shouldn't say for fourth position, behind these race leaders. Felix Watt is getting absolutely hounded by several trucks back there. You got Drapkin in the mix, you got Swain, you got Cryer, so it's a four-way battle for fourth. Competition to caution is now in the air, so we will slow things down, and well, that battle's gonna have to simmer for a minute, but I'll tell you, that was some of the best stuff on track for the last lap or two.
Definitely was, and interesting to see how this restart is going to go, because normally when we see these comp yellows, this is when Cam Peterson comes alive, or this is when Josh Edmondson comes alive. Keaton Swain is going to be in for a bit of a rough time here, I think. He needs to nail this restart, build up enough of a gap so then Peterson or Edmondson can't say anything about it. They are masters of this restart after the comp yellow, and Luke Canup, unfortunately, looking in his mirror, sees two Jim Beaver Esports teammates behind him, and we know why they're on Jim Beaver Esports 7. Here's the green flag.
Some of the best of the best, but that pole position for the restart there, that preferred positioning was huge for Luke up there. He got a nice healthy jump. It's not going to turn into too much of an advantage, but I think that was key, was just staying away from Peterson right out of the bat. Now, best case scenario is if the battle for second heats up, but a punt courtesy of Keaton Swain. He moved Josh Edmondson quite a bit there, and now Cam Peterson basically uncontested from behind. He can focus on Luke Canup for the race lead. Canup was maybe hoping that Edmondson could make the life more difficult for the driver of the 48 truck, as we were right on board with him.
Definitely did not make it more difficult. If anything, he might have made it a little bit easier for Cameron Peterson. Now that he's not going to have to worry about his Jim Beaver Esports teammate behind him of Josh Edmondson. We know these Jim Beaver Esports drivers are competitive. They race their teammates maybe a little bit cleaner than other drivers, but they still race them because they know they are some of the top drivers in E-Short Course. Here's the crossover move for Peterson. You can see how much the racing groove is starting to work in. All the rubber starting to be laid down in the dirt, and you can see just that dry patch through each and every corner. Drivers are going to be struggling to find moisture and find a little bit of grip. Here comes Peterson to the inside. The door slam, side by side for the race lead.
Best look he's had all night long. Dive into the corner. Peterson not going to go for the slide. He leaves the outside open. Luke Canup going to fight back. He is not going to give this position away. Now the right-hander, turn number 3. Still, they stay contact free. But Peterson's gonna have the inside for 4. Remember the rules. He can go down to the bottom if he wants. He doesn't. Washes out wide. What a lap from Luke Canup after being challenged by Peterson. He didn't touch him once, Josh, and it was able to shake him loose. Still in the race lead as we work lap number 15.
8 laps to go, and I'm a little bit shocked. Peterson did not make that pass happen. Look at Swain now trying to get into the picture. Dives to the inside of Edmondson. This battle for third is interesting to note, Evan, because these are both of the feature race winners this season. 3 rounds down. Keaton Swain won at round 1, and Josh Edmondson is undefeated in round 2 and 3. So here comes Peterson back to the inside. He's battling with Canup. Both of them are looking for their first feature race wins of the season. Peterson's looking to do it one and done as he goes to the inside, more contact, he washes out, now goes back to P2.
Looked like he wanted to go for the slide jump there, didn't have the positioning and tried to pull it back at the last minute, but all that did was drive him right into the door of the race leader. Meanwhile, Keaton Swain hiked it up on 2 tires, nearly rolled from position 4. Josh Edmondson is back on the scene in 3rd. There is a ton of championship points on the line if Luke could hold on, and of course he would love to see the championship leader in Josh Edmondson stay back in 3rd, if not drop more positions. Canup came in at a pretty significant disadvantage to the championship, 18 points back, but if you could lose 18 points in 3 rounds, you could make up 18 points in 3 rounds. So he has faith here, and I still feel like it's going to be an awfully tough task. Peterson getting more and more aggressive in the second half of this race than he was in that first half. This time by, coming to 5 to go. Peterson really likes the bottom in 4. He washes up, and he's just trying to push that 77 into the dirty stuff a little bit. Make that run off the corner more difficult for Canup, but Lucas had an answer every single time. More contact now, and this will be a good look. Drag racing down into turn number 2.
Here comes Peterson, huge dive, contact with Canup, almost opened the door for Josh Edmondson to get to the inside, but I think now that pass might have been made. Canup goes back to the inside, able to use that grip on the inside, gets the run off the corner, able to hold off Peterson. Here comes Cam Peterson in the 48, back to the inside, covers off the spot, Canup goes for the crossover, contact made, 4 to go at the line. Here comes Josh Edmondson into the mix, and Canup down to the inside with a slider. Blocks Peterson, back to the lead for Canup.
Absolutely textbook slide there from Luke Canup, but I think he's realized Peterson has changed the game. Edmondson way hot that time. Into turn 2, he doors Peterson, but it really only hurts himself. Edmondson now maybe dealing with Swain and Wong at battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th position. But once Peterson started putting the bumper and putting the door to Luke Canup, it was clear that this race has changed, and Luke Canup paid it back. Slide shot him back a little bit there. More contact than we saw in the first half of this race, and now inside of 3 laps to go, you have to wonder if anything's out of the question now. Peterson is still all over the back end. I don't think it's a question of if, it's a question of when that next big moves comes from the 48 truck.
But every time Peterson has made that move, Canup has been right there to get it back. He hasn't led every single lap, but every time Peterson is able to get by Canup has something back for him. I don't know if Peterson's going to be able to get by and stay by the 77 of Canup. He might have to get more aggressive than he's being. Another door slam as they go through the corner. Side by side for a moment, but the drag race is won by Canup. Here comes Peterson back to the inside. It's white flag this time by. They stay side by side and into turn number 3. Canup holds on to the spot. Where's Peterson going to go? Takes a peek to the inside. Can't do it. They are 1 and 2 as they go through turn 4.
Keep in mind, if these top 2 come to blows, Edmondson only a 1.5 seconds off in 3rd. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go from Wild Horse Pass. What 2 different storylines that we're watching unfold right now. Luke Canup has held him off for 21 laps. He's got about 4/10 of a mile to do it still. Not a great quarter for Cameron Peterson. Right hand now. Turn number 3, and Peterson's going to have to try to make it work on the bottom of the slide in turn number 4. Canup holds the bottom, seals off the 48, and Luke Canup going to get his first win of 2021. Canup victorious in the Pro 4 trucks at Wild Horse Pass.
What a run for Luke Canup. He wins his heat and holds off one of the best of the short course to walk away with the win. Him and the entire team at Reaper Speed Lab has got to be proud of what they have done with that number 77 machine to put him into victory lane. The third unique feature race winner of the season. Luke Canup can take a bow. What a drive.
And the first thing he said over the finish line is what a way to battle for the race lead. I mean, it did get physical at times, but nobody crossed the line. Everybody had an opportunity to win that race, and despite all the challenges from Cam Peterson, Luke Canup answered the call. And after getting better and better each week, he's got his best finish of the year. Luke Canup, a race winner in the Virtual Off-Road Racing Series Pro 4 Championship here in 2021. It comes in Chandler, and a bit of a surprise since he was doing the donuts there on the front straightaway. That was an attempt to clear him, I think. Didn't quite work out for the one drive. Let's take a look at your finishing results. So, Canup is in victory lane. Peterson, Zach and Step on the podium. Josh Edmondson is third. Those are the heavy hitters of these short course, and we'll talk with all of them in just a few moments. Keaton Swain to Felix Wall round through your top 5 with Zachary Trapkin, Nicholas Dashlet, Cody Retzlaff, Luke Kraus, and William Booth, your top 10.
Back from there, rounding out the entire field of drivers, we had a race here, 16 strong. Bodie Cryer, Brian Clement, Josh Klog, Shea Price, Tor Andre Borison, and Christopher Plumley round out the entire 16 truck field who took the green flag tonight. And I agree with Luke Canup, Evan. What a battle we saw towards the end, and luckily we get to talk with him here in the broadcast booth.
That's right, we're stood by trackside with the driver of the 77 truck, Luke Canup, a race winner here in 2021. Luke, congratulations on the win. I mean, Cam Peterson joins the session. Everybody takes notice, and I mean, he was all over you for every single lap of that feature. Just tell us about fighting with Cam there.
Yeah, that was insanely crazy. I think that's how you put it with that race. The start was crazy. He was giving me bumpers everywhere, just doing what he needed to do to try to get around me. And I was just saying no to it every time. And then I pulled a little bit of gap to the caution. I was hoping it would kind of stay to the second half, but he put it up a notch there in the second half. And we were battling at it hard. It was definitely going to be a good broadcast to watch back. But he got me one time, and I was like, no, I'm not going to lose my home race this easy. So decided to throw my signature slide job, and we made it stick.
And it was a beauty at that. Your finishes this year have been 7th, 6th, 4th, and now a 1st. It seems like that you learn more and you get more speed week by week. What would you attribute that to as we get deeper into this Pro 4 season?
Honestly, I think it's just qualifying and heat races better. You know, these trucks, you got to be really good in qualifying for them, and that's really what I've tried to put in for this week. And I qualified first at Bark River, but that translated into me leading the whole heat race, and then got a slowdown in the last turn, and then I was deep in the field for the main. And so that kind of transferred to the 7th place, and then got crashed out in turn 1 at Crandon. So it's kind of been a rough few races, but I'm glad to turn it around here at Wild Horse.
Of course, we're now going to go back to some tracks that we've been to already. And I talk about how your finishes have get better over the course of the year. So we go back to Bark River and back to Crandon, where you've had technically your worst finishes of the season. How do you take this race win and maybe some momentum and try to get up there in the battle for a championship here? And, where is that improvement going to come from? What do you need to work on as we head to Bark River in 2 weeks?
Like I said, just got to qualify better. Especially at Crandon, you got to get that first place on the starting grid to really try to pursue that whole shot. I think that's the biggest thing. So going to be putting in some qualifying laps, try to get my qualifying trim a little bit better. But Crandon is one of my better tracks. You know, I beat Cam in the Jim Beaver Esports World Cup there. You know, Bark River, I won the Jim Beaver Esports race. So I have good finishes respectfully in both, but just got to qualify better.
Well, you make ground, you close in. The gap to third in the championship goes from 12 to 9 points, so you're knocking on the door, Luke. But for tonight's race win here at the Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park, the sponsors, shout outs, all of those good folks, who do you want to say hi to?
Oh, for sure. Got to thank all the boys in the BDR Discord for helping me. Matt, Darren, Ashton, Mason, the list goes on. Thank you guys. Ultra Wheels for everything. Reaper Speed Lab, awesome setups. Rigid Industries, Geyser Bros, Desert Squadron, Luke Canup Racing, HJC. The list goes on and on for all the people that helped me get here. So thank you guys.
We appreciate you as well, Luke, racing in this series here on Wednesday nights, and of course sticking around and chatting with us on Racecraft TV. Congratulations on the win, and we'll see what you guys got in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Evan.
It's your race winner tonight from Wild Horse Pass at round 4 of the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship. Luke Canup is in victory lane. The second half, Josh, of that incredible battle for the win was Cam Peterson, who gets a very impressive P2 at his Pro 4 debut here with the driver of the 48 truck.
Yeah, and a great run from Cam, and I think everybody wondering at home, Cam, coming into tonight, is this a one and done, or are you going to be with us for the remainder of the Pro 4 Championship? Because I didn't see you in the first 3 rounds, and you show up here at Wild Horse Pass and put down a really good second place finish.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Josh. I didn't know I was going to be racing this until about 20 minutes before the event started. My teammate Josh Edmondson kind of forced me to hop in here because I was throwing down some decent laps in our practice session, and I haven't done a lap here in a very long time, and I'm kind of transitioning over to the road racing of iRacing instead of just the dirt road. So I've also transferred from VR to triples so I can race longer races, and tonight was my first real test with the triples, triple screen setup, and I think I did awesome. I think tonight, I think I placed the truck where I needed to. I think I gave Luke everything I probably had. Being clean and such. I think there's more than just a handful of times I could have sent him a little deeper. But I raced him exactly the way I wanted to be raced, and I couldn't ask for anything else. So coming home with a second is that's nothing more I could ask for.
And of course, Wild Horse Pass. It's a relatively short track, 35 seconds on the lap time. Coming into tracks like this, are you taking a little bit more of a different strategy? Are you racing a little bit differently than maybe the Bark Rivers or Crandons that are much longer than this track is?
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, those longer tracks with the more so of a chess match, so to speak, with the more technical layout of the corners like Crandon and Bark River. This track is more so corner to corner, so you're more so just looking to upset whoever it is in front of you to just give yourself an advantage going into the next corner. So you're looking to just give like a small tap, get them loose, get them just unsettled going into the next corner, so that way you can have a bit of an advantage at all, because there's close to zero opportunities for passing at this track if you don't give a bit of a fender, if you don't just give them a light tap, and it's just a bit of a motivation. And that's really all I tried to do tonight. I think anyone can pass anyone at this track if you send it in deep enough, because every corner here seems like a hairpin, and and I know Luke was in a position to give me a bit of a slider back, and I saw it coming, and you really had nowhere to go, especially with the track state where it was, and I really give it my all in the second half of the race for sure.
Well, Cam, great to see you on the track and great to hear from you here in the broadcast booth. Anybody you would like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Absolutely. You and Evan for putting on the broadcast, as well as Josh Edmondson for having this hosted on Racecraft TV, and as well as Vors League. To the guys in Jim Beaver Esports, General Tire, Fistful of Bourbon, Players Razor, Vision Wheel, Next Level Racing, and to my home folks at Norwood Auto Wreckers and everyone watching.
Well, thank you very much once again for joining us here in the broadcast booth. Second place finish tonight for Cam Peterson. We go from one Jim Beaver Esports truck to the other Jim Beaver Esports truck in the field tonight of Josh Edmondson, and he is with us here in the broadcast booth now. And Josh, another great finish for you. You could not get the three-peat in the feature, but you were able to walk away with another podium finish. How was that truck feeling out there tonight on the track?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I typically struggle a little bit. This truck and track combination is not my favorite, and it's really hard to pass on. Like we said last week, qualifying is everything at this track, and I kind of didn't get the qualifying lap that I wanted to. So with where I started in the heat race from qualifying and all that, I'm actually really happy to come out with a P3 because passing here is extremely hard, especially when everybody's so close in speed. So yeah, I'm actually really happy to come away with a podium.
And of course, you can come into this race as the points leader. You still have a drop week left, but 2 feature race wins, now another podium to boot. Is this going to be, finally, I should mention, your run to the championship? Because you've been so close in the Pro 2s, but you unfortunately have been thwarted every time by Cam Peterson. He might only be running 1 round in this campaign, not running for a championship. Could this finally be your time in Virtual Off-Road Racing Series to be on the top step of the podium come the points at the end of the season?
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, I think we can do it. We got the pace, everything to do it. It's just, putting the race together. I know Keaton finished right behind me, and he's really close in points. And Connor Berry, who's not here this weekend, obviously this will be his drop week. So the 3 of us are really tight. And I think Luke probably closed some ground with that win, but I know he had a couple bad rounds. So I just got to stay up front and finish ahead of those guys now with a couple wins and a couple podiums. If I can stay up in the top 3 the next 2 rounds, I should be able to clinch it, I think.
And of course, going back to Bark River, you got the feature race wins at Crandon and Wild West. Going into Bark River, are you changing anything on the setup of the truck or the operation going into the second Bark River race of the season versus the first one at the beginning?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that new dirt model update had come out right before Bark River back then, and I hadn't really done any testing on it. And I've done a little now. We found some things with the team, Cam and Connor and Felix and the guys, found a little pace. We have really good worn track speed, so I think at a track like that, once it breaks in, we should be really fast. So, yeah, I'm a little more confident next time around going to Bark River.
Well, thank you for joining us here post-race in the broadcast booth, Josh, and who makes it all possible for you at Jim Beaver Esports and the sponsors?
Yeah, definitely. Those guys, it's an awesome group. Everybody testing together, pushing each other is great. And then, all the sponsors, Fistful of Bourbon, General Tire, Polaris Razor, Next Level Racing, and Dirtfish.
Well, thank you very much once again for joining us. That is Josh Edmondson, 3rd place finish for him. He finishes on the podium, Evan, and we're going to be going to a bit of a completely different racetrack when we go racing in 1 week's time.
Yeah, and it's going to be a place that we've been to, right? We return to the side of the season opener as we head back to Bark River for round number 5 in 2 weeks' time. But this championship got that much more interesting, Josh, after tonight. Josh Edmondson gets a 3rd place tonight. That's his worst finish of the night. It's a drop week for him. Connor Berry not here, and it's an automatic drop. And even Keaton Swain in 4th position. Worst finish of the year. This will count as his drop. And obviously, Luke it up with a race win closes in. So out of tonight, Edmondson is only ahead 2 points over Connor Berry in 2nd. Keaton Swain is 5 points back in 3rd. And don't look now, but Luke it up is only 14 points back in 4th. So this championship is getting very excited as we head back to Bark River.
Definitely is, and I think Bark River is going to be that breaking point for the championship. It's going to be the race where if Josh Edmondson is going to win that championship, he's going to need to perform at, and he's been performing at pretty much every round this season. Let's hope it doesn't end at Bark River in 1 week's time, and he can continue the great streak of racing that he is currently on.
And we're hoping everybody joins us when we get out there. But until next time, that is it for us here tonight from the virtual Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. On behalf of our entire team at Racecraft TV and for the folks behind the scenes at the Virtual Off-Road Racing Series, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Luke it up on his first Pro 4 win of the season. We're back in 2 weeks' time on Wednesday, November the 17th. It's at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time start for the virtual Bark River International Raceway. That race and every race of the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship can be found exclusively here on Racecraft TV. Until next time, good night from Chandler, Arizona, where Luke Cadup is in victory lane.